let's continue to talk about the data types. How do we store the data in Python? There are four main types of data to store the data in Python: string, list, dictionary, and tuple. I think actually we should talk about string, then tuple, then list, then dictionary, because string and tuple, they are immutable types. That means when you store the data into strings or tuple, you cannot change them easily. While for mutable types, lists and dictionaries, you can change the elements within lists or dictionaries quite easily. So compound data types. Compound means that these types of data, they are objects, they are variables, but these variables, they store the data. They have elements. They're not just one data point. For example, if you have 1, this is a numerical value, 1, or 2, or Frankie. Okay, Frankie is a word, but Frankie, this word is a string. The string is consisted from different elements. The elements are the letters. F is a letter, it's an element. R is a letter. Okay, A is a letter, N is a letter, and they combine together, we have a string. So string is a compound data type to store the different elements of the data value. Okay. It's the same for tuple, list, and dictionary. We will talk about it. Then we talk about the data types, the very basic data types, strings and tuples first. Then we talk about how to access their elements and maybe how to change them, but we cannot change the elements for strings and tuples because they are immutable. We will talk about the cloning slices and the 2 other mutable types, and aliasing, the difference between aliasing and cloning. First, we talk about the data types. So it's very easy to distinguish different compound data types. Strings are enclosed in quotes, holds characters, and is immutable. Quote, this is a string. What are the string's elements? Well, it sounds easy, but it's not very easy. You probably will get it wrong. You have an uppercase T, you have a lowercase h, you have a lowercase I, you have a lowercase s. Then you have a space. Remember, space is also an element. Okay. The first element of this string is T, the second is H, the third is I, the fourth is S. What is the fifth element of this string? Is it the I, the next I? No, it is a space. And this I assume that through the video recording you can see my mouth moving. This I is the sixth element. And then the 7th element is S. Then the 8th element is again a space. Okay, so space, different characters, including letters, numbers, all of them, they are the elements of this string. And as a compound data type, string stores these elements data. The next one is tuple. Tuples are recognized by the parentheses. You see the parentheses here, and you see another parenthesis to mark the end of the tuple. And the values are separated by commas. Okay. Sometimes, in some special cases, you don't have this parenthesis around the tuple. We will talk about that. But usually, rigorously typing the tuple, you should have the parentheses around the elements. And the elements do not have to be numerical. Do not have to be in the same data type. For example, in this tuple, the first element is 4, the second element is 2, is a Boolean value. The third one is a compound data type, string. Okay, it's not a letter, it's not a number, it's a string. And the fourth one is a floating number. Interestingly, you notice that this is a compound data type here. Can I put another element into this tuple, but this element is another type of compound data type, for example, another tuple? Yes. You can do for true test, then another tuple, comma, then another element. Then that tuple will be the fourth element of this tuple. And that tuple itself can have different elements of different data types. We will on Spider we will type some data types to show you. And lists. How do we distinguish lists? Lists from tuples. Lists are enclosed in square brackets. Square brackets. Separated also by commas, holds any data type. Okay, numerical, boolean, string, floating. This integer, and also in the list you can have a tuple. In the list you can also have a list, and you can also have a list containing only the other lists. So it will be a list of lists. Okay. The fourth one is dictionary. Dictionary is a little bit different from the others. The dictionaries are enclosed in curly brackets. Curly brackets, and the elements are separated by commas. Every element includes two things: key and value. Okay, key value pair. A key value pair is an element of a dictionary, and is separated by columns. The key and value. The key and value pair is indicating a one-to-one mapping. Okay, if you learned function before, you know that the function is from x to y. So here is from key to value, is a mapping. So for example, your name, no, not your name, your national ID number, your ID number, and your name. Or this value may not be just a string, it can be a list. Okay, the first element of this list is your name. The second element of the value list is your gender, then your other information. Then you can map your national ID number with a bunch of your information. And you store the personal data of the citizens into a dictionary so that using Python you can access their data, to search their data, to manipulate the data, to find similar the citizens, the elements with similar characteristics. Okay, keys can be any immutable data type. Remember that the keys, the first value of each element in the dictionary cannot be a list, it cannot be a dictionary. But the second one, the values, can be any data type. The values can be strings, tuples, lists, dictionaries, integers, floating number, whatever things you want. Okay. Strings, tuples, and lists, they have orders. They are ordered. So I can say the first element is T here, the uppercase T in this string. This is a string. And the first element of tuple is 4 here. The first element of this list is 4 here. But the elements in dictionaries are not ordered. They are not ordered. Okay? You cannot say, hey, the first element is 1 colon, the Roman number I, 1. You cannot say this. Even though you change the order, you write 2 colon 2, 4 colon 4, then 3 colon 3, then 5 colon 5, then 1 colon 1. Even you rewrite the dictionary with a different order, as long as the key value pairs are the same, then the dictionaries are the same. Okay, dictionaries elements do not have order. Remember this. Strings and tuples are immutable, which means that once you create them, you cannot change them. I have already typed something in Spider in this. For example, my string equals ABC. Then, to access the first element, you use square bracket 0. It's 0 here. Because the first element is always 0. Python counts numbers from 0. The first one is 0. The 20th one is 19. Use square bracket 19. My string 0 equals D. Because I want to change them to D, you find that you have an error. Because the type of error says string object does not support item assignment. You cannot change the value. To understand the mutable and the mutable data and the immutable data, let's do a little bit more comparisons. My tuple is 1, 2, 3. Then you want to change the first element 1, square bracket 0 to 4. You see that it also warns you that tuple object does not support item assignment. But instead, if you use my list and you change the first element of the list 1 to 4, then you find that my list. Well, here I made a mistake because I wrongly typed the M to uppercase, but it should be lowercase. My list is 4, 2, 3. Here, the first element of my list has been changed from 1 to 4. Okay. So list is mutable, and string and tuple are immutable. Okay. Sorry, where is that? The assignment operator can make a variable point to strings or tuples just like simple data types. Okay, my string is, this is a test, my tuple is integer, floating number, Boolean, and string cheese. How do I, where? So strings and tuples are both sequences, which means that they consist of order test of elements. Actually, a list is also a sequence, with each element identified by an index. So in the square bracket 0 indicating that the index is 1. Okay, the first element. String. Let's talk about the string. You can access a specific element using the integer index. So my string square bracket 0 produces uppercase T. Okay. The len standing for length. Length function can be used to find the length of a sequence. Remember, the last element is length minus 1 because counting starts at 0. So if you want to get the period at the end of the string, you should use my string length the string minus 1. Actually, there is an easier way to do this. That is to just use minus 1. You see, my string minus 1 also produces a period. Okay, then my string 0 minus 2 produces the second last element, which is 1 before the period, that is a T. And minus 3, index minus 3 will give you the S, and index minus 4 will give you the E. Okay, give you the E. If you try to access an element that does not exist, Python will throw an error. For example, if you do my string to 5,000, it produces an error. So how do you know how many elements do you have for the string? Use function length. Say length my string. Okay, 3, and my string is ABC. Okay, length, and my string minus 2. What is minus 2? Minus 1 should be C. Minus 2 should be B. Okay, and the B is a string itself. Traversals it means that you go over from the beginning to the end. So many times you need to do something to every element in a sequence. For example, if you want to check each letter in a string to see if it contains a specific character. You want to do something to every element in a sequence. This is very common, and has a term, it has a name, a traversal. You can do a traversal using a while loop as follows. So we haven't learned while loop, but so let's just briefly introduce it a little bit. Ignore the index equals 0 here. Just make an index equals 0, then you while. Actually, it reads like a simple English. While the index is smaller than the length of the string, for example, the length of the string can be, I don't know, maybe 8. Then, under this condition, you have the statement: if the myString index is equal to, remember it's a double equal sign indicating the comparison between this variable and this variable. This variable is a indexed element of this myString, the string, and a number j, a letter j. If they equal to each other, then you print out from the j. If you do something, okay. If you don't have this one to every time you increase index by 1, then you will end up being in a loop that never ends. So you will do the 0, then 0. So you first give index value 0. So the first time you will myString 0 will be checked if it is j. Then if it's j, then you print out, find the j. If it's not j, it doesn't print, it doesn't execute, implement this line. Then index will be incremented to 1, and then you check if myString 1, the second myString 1 is not the first element, the second element is j. If it's j, then you print this. If it's not, then you do not print this. So let's practice this a little bit. For example, I rename the myString because say my job is really interesting, but that is because my TA is very capable, and my students are very nice. Okay, this is my string. It's a long string. So I first give index 0, then I write the while loop. Okay, while index is smaller than the length of my. Okay, let me see if it's length minus 1 or length. It should be length. If it's less than or equal to, then it should be minus 1. Minus 1. Okay, this is fine. Okay. Then if myString's element index is equal to, let's say, I, or let's say uppercase, let's say I. When I print out, I find an I. And I also want to print out another thing. I want to print out the index. Okay, let's do it together. Let's do two things together. find I in the position index. And index is a number, so let's say in the index, on the index, add the index, should be add the index. I convert index into a string. I do this. Okay. Then why do I make the indentation a little bit to the left? Because I'm conducting while. No matter my string index is equal to I or not, I have to increment index by 1. Okay, so it shows that I find the I at the index 7. 1, 2, 3. Remember the third one, the third element is space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So why it says index 7? Because it starts from 0. Okay. And 18th, because it's 17. Let's modify a little bit to I find an I as the index plus 1 plus at the element. Let me see if it works. Oh, I should first do because index has been changed. Index now should be some double-digit number or three-digit number. Now I want to reset index to 0. Then I do this. See? Now if I find an I as the 8th. Well, 8th. I'm sorry. It should be next I, not 8th. Find an I as the 8th element, the 18th element, 26th, 40th, and 99th elements. And if you want to change what you want to search for, you can change it to T. Okay, uppercase T. So I guess it should be the TA that one you should find. Yeah. So I find a T. As a 54th element, it should be the TA here. My TA is very capable. Okay. So you can also do the traversal using the for loop. So Python makes traversals easy with the for loop. When you use I, you have to the while loop. You need to use the index, but it's easier to use the for loop because for every compound data type, you can use for loop to directly search for the elements within this data type. For example, my string is my job is very interesting. This sentence. You can say for letter in my string. For letter in my string, letter is kind of like an I there, but we don't have to always use index or I. For letter in my string, I want to print out letter. So you see, the letter is printed out. My job, my space is space, really space. Interesting, like this. So if I want to find out to check whether there is I or T, let's talk about the index using the for loop here later. You just need to check if letter is equal to I, and if it is true, then you print I, find an I. Okay, so you find the I for 5 times, for 6 times. You can also grab slices from a sequence. The sequence, you should indicate the start and the end. For example, this is a test, this is the my string, and if you want to cap from the first element to 1, 2, 3, does the third element be included? No. So here, it starts from the first element that you indicate, but it ends before the end index. So when you specify 0 to 2, it produces T and H, but not these I. Okay, it's just as a grammar. And my string from 3 to 6, it will include the index 3, 4, 5, or the 4th, the 5th, the 6th number. The first, second, third, 4th. Okay, you will have the 4th, 5th, and 6th. So you will have the S space and I. Okay, it gives you it cuts the sequence, it cuts the string into different slices. It gives you a slice from the string. So you have the from the index 3, 4, 5, but not 6. Okay. Question: what does this produce? 1 to 4. 1 is the second element, H. 1, 2, 3, but not 4. 1, 2, 3, but not 4. It should be HIS space. HIS space. Let's check it a little bit. This is a test. My string, it goes, this is a test. Okay. My string, 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, This is a test. It should be what? H1, 1, 2, 3, but not 4. Yes, HIS, but not space. I'm sorry, not space. So from 5 to 7, it should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be 5 and 6. It should be IS. IS. There are some default values for blanks. If you leave the start part blank, you assume that you want 0. So for example, if you do my string blank column 2, it produces TH. So it's the same as my string 0, 2. If you do my string blank column 6, it assumes as 0 to 6, and it will have it will print out the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but not 6. Okay, the first 5 letters. If you leave the end blank, it assumes that you want until the end of the string. So 5, 2, 0. Remember that -1, if you put -1 here, it will end until the -1, until the last one. It should stop at the second last letter. Okay, if you put 0 here, then assume that you go for, actually it should not be 0, it should be -0. But if you leave it blank, then it assumes that you slice it to the end of this string. Let's check. can 5 to nothing, blank. Then it will give you is a test to the end. Okay. If you have my string blank to blank, it means that it produces this is a test, 0 to end. Is it the same as you name it? For example, what is the difference between my string? What is the difference between my string 2 equals my string and my string 2, 3 equals my string blank to blank? So here, if you have, how do I get this? If you tap the tab button, it will give you for example, my st. So then you press tab, then it will give you all of the variables you probably want, and it will make your the typing and the coding faster. So if you try, my string 2 will be this is a test. My string 3, it is also this is a test. Okay. They two are a little bit different. Here, you're assigning the whole my string to this new variable my string 2. But here is that you first slice, you take a part of this my string, the original string, but this part is just the whole part, okay, from the beginning to the end, and you assign this value, the whole value, to another variable. Because string is an immutable data type, so these two are not very different. They can be different when they are mutable data types, so like lists and dictionaries. And you can use slices to make clones. You can assign a slice from a sequence to a variable. This is what I just did. You can take a part, for example, from index 1 to 4, or from index 5 to 7, or from the index 10 to the end of the string. You can take some part of the string and assign this value to a new variable. Okay, this is the end of the video for string and the overview introduction of the different compound data types, and this the detailed introduction of the string. In the next video, we will talk about the tuple.